Ian Blackwood Talks Smack podcast. This is the drummer episode.
Woo!
Yes. My guest today is Mike Sleath.
Hello.
Mike, how you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm great, brother. Thanks for being here. Mike is a drummer and a professional percussionist for the Stars.
The Stars.
The Stars. He's been known to play for musicians like Francesco Yates, Camila Cabello, and most recently, especially in the last couple of years, the constant gig for you has been the young, talented, the great Shawn Mendes, the handsome. What's that? Okay, before we start, I want to talk why drums. How come?
Well, my uncle was a drummer.
Okay.
So, so it was something like very early on that I kind of really grasped towards. There's just something about it. He always had a drum set up in the basement.
Did you go down? You go down?
Yeah,
and
I would like
hit things.
When I was like 10, like 9,
nice.
10, I would sneak in there and it always smelled like booze and cigarettes and like
That's awesome.
Just like bad things. So
Yeah, it smelled like rock and roll, right?
it smelled like rock and roll.
Nice. So did he teach you, or did he show you a few things?
At
or?
the beginning, yeah, like just kind of how to hit and that kind of thing. He came from like the 80s kind of hair metal kind of days where you just bash the drums as hard as you can. Doesn't matter what you're doing, you just hit them hard.
Break your hands.
So that was the big thing.
Have you ever had any hand troubles from drums?
Not really.
No? Okay. I used to get really bad hand.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you ever get this one? The one where you just heard
the lock-up
right
thumb in here. Yeah, I used to get that, and it was because I was never stretching. People tell me you got to warm up, and it was also because I was hitting. I'd hit so hard, always my snare would loosen, and like, and people were just like, "Dude, you don't actually have to hit that hard."
And then it's like you're hitting a pillow or something.
Yeah, because I didn't understand how to hit technically.
Yeah,
because there are ways to play the drums and play percussion to hit technically, as I learned further in my career. But
yeah. Well, that's cool. I used to always get that thing where like you'd be playing and then you're trying to play really fast and you're not playing correctly and then your arms start to lock up and then you're like hitting from here.
You get the cramp like in here.
Yeah. You can't move your arms. You can barely hold onto the drumstick. But I think it's just all about like being loose.
So, okay, so you say 9, 10. From age 9, 10.
Yeah, probably.
When did it hit you that you were like getting good and like that you knew you wanted to do this?
I wasn't really playing then.
Okay.
Like I didn't have a drum set.
Okay.
It would just be whenever I went over there. And then I was begging my parents for years and years, and then eventually my brother got me drumsticks. So then I would set up kind of like makeshift. My entire life has been setting up makeshift drum sets just to make it work. So like, just with pillows and like, you know those Clementine boxes?
Yeah, of course.
Those wooden Clementine boxes?
Yeah.
So I'd use a lot of those. And then eventually when I was about 12 or 13, I think my parents got me a real drum set.
Oh, man. So 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah.
Was this like a Christmas or a birthday
It was
gift?
a Christmas thing.
Oh, man.
And they tricked me where they got me I came down Christmas morning and there was just a snare drum and a throne sitting there. And I was like, okay. I'm like,
you got me 1/8.
I'm like, you got me one drum. I'm like, okay. And then she's like, can you go down to the freezer and get some bread? And then it was just sitting there. It was like,
describe
his God moment. Like,
describe the kit. What kind was it? What color? I want to know. We want to know.
It was. I still have it.
Do you really?
I don't think I'm gonna sell it.
No, I wouldn't.
Even though I never play it.
With the way you're describing it, like talk a little about it.
It's this like to date. I can't. I think it was this Tama kit that was. I think it was discontinued like early '90s or something. It's called Tama RM.
Okay.
And anything I can find, it seems like it's this kit that they made for a couple of years and then didn't make it. They bought it used.
What color was it?
This really disgusting wood color, like a yellow wood.
That's okay though.
It's pretty gross. But it sounds pretty good.
Oh man.
I think.
Well, it's Tama. I mean, I've always been a big fan. I mean, I've been a fan of lots of different drum companies, really, but Tama I've always been like
crazy
the boom, just a big, they're kind of known for that. But
later on, the first, like after that drum set, the first like real drum set, the first like professional drum set I bought, I spent all my money on this Tama Star Classic.
Oh, beauty.
Babinga.
Yeah.
With a broken glass finish that was like just absolutely beautiful. And to date, it's still, I used it on this session in Baltimore with Matt Squire.
Okay.
And since it's been used on like all these other, I'm like a friend will call me up and they're like, we just used your drum samples on this record or this record.
No way.
So like, remember These Kids Wear Crowns?
100%, of course.
Jumpstart?
Yeah.
That's that kit.
Oh, no
And that's
way.
me playing it.
Wow.
That's those samples.
Kesha's mother had something to do with that song, didn't she?
Kesha's mother? I don't know.
Jumpstart. Yeah, I think.
Is it?
I think so. I don't know. I thought I heard that. That's wicked. So those are your...
And that was that drum set. This was like
Wow.
years ago.
Yeah, that would be like 2009, 10.
It was what
these kids? Yeah, these kids were around.
something like that.
Yeah.
I was there I went down with Teeter.
Okay.
And we worked with Matt Squire's like sub guy. It's like whatever underneath. His name was Paul Levitt.
Okay.
And then Matt Squire was coming in and needed a drummer for this like Katy Perry session, but Katy Perry was nothing at the time. Right. So yeah, they were doing like this rock remix of "I Kissed a Girl," and I had that kit set up, and we did it, and the drum sounded incredible.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was
tiny little Katy Perry story. Wow,
that's like my biggest session to date, and it was when I was like 19 or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
30.
Okay. Still fresh, still young.
Maybe that math doesn't add up. Maybe I was more like 20 or something, 21 or 22.
No, I mean, it's close. It's in the
close
realm.
enough.
It's in the realm, man. Who cares?
Once you hit 30, it's
musician time. Yeah. Once you hit 20 in musician time, everything's different.
Everything is like a month away or a month ago.
Totally. I want to talk a little bit about touring. Because we were actually conversing earlier just before we hit record here, and we were talking about how there's a yin to the yang here about like hyped up big time musicians. We talked a little bit about the young Shawn Mendes. We talked a little bit about the great Eddie Vedder, and how these guys they spend so much time playing these big huge gigs, and I think they get touched now and they get excited. Touched to the heart and excited when they go to these tiny little coffee houses, and it's kind of the backwards way. We talk about how it's like that's a nightmare to me, playing a tiny little place where 5 people show up. All I want to do is play in front of 50,000. Where it's the exact reverse for these artists. So I want to talk touring on that note, because you're a guy. You've played the coffee house type gig, the small bar, but you've also played you're touring with Shawn Mendes. You're playing stadium shows. You're playing. There's got to be hundreds of thousands sometimes.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Like playing the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, like hitting the kick drum. How much do you want on the monitor? Boom! Like, is it just like goes on forever?
Well, two sides. Like, so we did the biggest gig I've probably ever done to date was we did Rock in Rio.
Wow.
In Brazil.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, like 120, 150,000 people. But that, like, it's a festival, right? So like you just see, it's the same kind of thing you do like some corn festival and wherever, and there's like 20, 50,000 people or something like that, and it's kind of like after a certain amount you don't see any more.
Right, it's blurry past 50,000.
So it's like I was about to go on stage and I'm like, I would have thought I'd be a lot more nervous, like because this is like the biggest gig I've ever played, but you can't see them, so it's kind of like I might as well, I could be in Lucknow right now like doing something. But we did Wembley Stadium.
Oh wow.
And that's
historic.
Yeah, it was nuts. But that one, that was 100,000, and you can see every single person.
Okay.
Because it goes all up, like, so you can see. I could see a speck all the way at the back of the stadium. So that one I was freaking out. But we're playing it again like next month, so I think I'm gonna be more chill this time.
You get to do it again.
Yeah, we're doing it again. He's headlining this time too.
It's funny how many people can say they've done Wembley more than once.
Yeah, I know. You'd never. Yeah,
so
never.
The Beatles played there.
Yeah. Or that. You ever see that? That Queen live.
No.
Like, Queen live at Wembley.
I thought you were gonna say Foo Fighters, but I have not
Foo
seen
Fighters too. Yeah.
I saw the Foo Fighters one. I have not seen
the Queen one
Wembley.
is insane.
Dude, that's
Freddie, man.
I gotta write that down.
Yeah.
# Freddie. Do you have any crazy like tour stories, like anything wild? I mean, you've maybe that you're only things you're allowed to talk about. I mean, they all sound crazy to me. I mean, you're playing in front of 100, 100,000, 150, like that's all crazy to me. But is there anything stand out?
Any weird things? Yeah. I don't know, man. It's just like I feel like I should have a diary or something, because you forget all the
absolutely. Well,
you forget all the nitty gritty.
You go play 30, 40 gigs. All of a sudden, you wake up and the year's almost over.
Yeah,
and you're like, and you've been all around the world.
Yeah.
What are some of the coolest places you've been with Shawn Mendes?
Coolest places,
or with Shawn. Anybody really?
I'm a big Australia guy.
Oh yeah,
love Australia.
Down under.
I love it down under. Nice. Dingoes. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. All through Asia. Well, Thailand.
Oh, you played in Thailand?
Yeah.
Wow, what's that like?
It's nuts.
That's so cool, man. Thailand, like
I have a couple tour stories from there that I cannot divulge.
oh, okay. Those are locked tight in a vault, in the Mike Sleath vault.
But that's like the craziest place. Yeah, and just like all the different cultures. Like we go to Japan a fair bit, and just like compared to like say like in Italy or something, fans are so loud, and they literally do soccer chants and stuff like that in between.
Like ole, ole.
Yeah, and they'll all chant together. Like you'll hear like an arena of like 20,000 people just like.
Oh, that's got to like move the ground.
Yeah,
right?
But then you go to Japan, and it'll be like he'll say, "Oh, make some noise," and they go, "Wah!" Like, and then stop and politely
it's like a
listen.
fader, like bam,
yeah,
bam.
it's crazy. So like, yeah, so just the difference of cultures. Is like insane.
That must be really interesting, especially the diversity in culture and the how people like I guess control themselves or how they behave and how they react in a situation. It's very different from Western culture versus Eastern, and it must obviously, like you're saying, it varies country to country.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That's
like even like Canadian crowds, I think, like are they're kind of known to be very subdued and very quiet.
Yeah.
But then you don't really see that in the States. Like it's way crazier in the States. Right?
Oh, they're
like,
wild. Yeah, they're wild.
Especially Toronto crowds. Toronto crowds are like very subdued.
Yeah, they're very cool.
I know a lot of people that like don't like playing Toronto.
Yeah, you see a lot of bands come through and some just won't play.
Yeah,
they'll play Hammer. They'll play Hamilton. We call it the Hammer.
The Hammer
for those listeners and viewers who don't know. A lot of people play Hamilton.
Yeah,
Hamilton's that like blue collared working class, city that just is always
New Jersey.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm wearing Bruce Springsteen right now.
Oh, wow,
nice.
The boss.
Yeah. All right, so we talked tour. So yeah, I was going to ask you about Japan. You've been to Japan. That's
yeah. Japan is crazy.
I had a record out in Japan, but I'd never been to Japan.
No way.
Yeah,
it's
never got to
totally
make that
worth the money.
Yeah. Eh?
I'm like looking around right now because we're starting to do it all again. Well, we're doing a bunch this year, but then next year
with Mendes, with Shawn. Yeah.
Well, I'm with Shawn for the next 2 years, like the end of 2019 for sure. I guess anything can happen. Maybe I won't be.
Let's talk a little about that, because that's got to be a great feeling, especially for a musician, drummer like yourself. You get a gig, and then you get to hold on to that gig, because we talked a little bit. about...
hopefully, if you, that's the,
So you're like always kind of prepped for a just in case.
1000%, man. Yeah. Like it's funny. I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, it's kind of like now you kind of have the gig. You're kind of you're gonna kind of continue in it,
right,
for at least the very like foreseeable future. But like, so then at the same time, you could kind of think, oh, like, I can let myself go. I can just, I have it and I got it. But then at the same time, it's like I'm playing all these gigs with some of the greatest musicians in the world. And like, I'm just some guy from Toronto. So it's like, obviously you have to work like twice as hard to kind of keep, you're never going to be at that level of like the Vinny Cayutas or something like that. Or, like we've done gigs with Sting.
Right.
And it's like Vinny, and I just kind of like come up to Vinny and I'm like, hey, my name's Mike. I play with Shawn. How are you? And like, I got to hang out with him, and he's a legend. Like, so you're probably never going to be as good as him, but you got to try. So I practice constantly. Like,
I know, dude. I watch your. You guys got to follow him on Instagram, Mike Sleath on Instagram, because we'll plug our socials at the end of the show. But you always post these cool groove videos, and
yeah, I like to do so.
I love watching your groove videos. This guy's such a tight drummer, and it's just so. You're tight, but you're also very you're loose when you need to be, and then I can't really explain it. I don't have the musician.
Come on, man! You're a very well-rounded musician and gentleman.
Well, okay, the show's about you, Mike, not about me. But thank you.
But back to you.
Okay, so I guess you have to sort of somewhat mentally, sort of psychologically in the back, be prepared for sort of anything to happen, I guess, right?
Yeah, I'd think so. Like, and I see it more on the American side, but like the amount of times that like a set of musicians will go out and do one gig or like one tour or something like that, and then get canned, and then they get all new people for the next one. It's like, it's pretty jarring to see. Like, Hired
Guns. Have you watched that on Netflix?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it made me really depressed. I couldn't finish it.
Yeah, it was depressing. But it's like true, right? Like you're saying, it's what happens. Like all of a sudden, you guys get recycled.
Yeah.
So, I mean, dude, good on you for like, first of all, I mean, I'm always believing in like the glass is half full, but you also got to sometimes understand that it could be half empty.
Yeah.
I don't think
1,000%.
I think people are ignorant to think that it's just always going to be, I've been an actor for almost 15 years. I say on this podcast once in a while, and like, it's just like acting. Like you get a gig, that TV show could last 10 years, could last 10 months, could last 10 minutes.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, you have to be prepared to understand that, when you're swinging in the big leagues, like it's not always going to be home runs.
Yeah.
Oh man, make that a T-shirt.
That was a good one. Wow.
Okay, enough of me. Okay, so speaking of drummers, and you were just mentioning Sting's drummer. Do you have like an ultimate favorite drummer?
I kind of go through them. Like they all kind of like I'll go through one day. This guy's my favorite. Like sometimes when I practice, I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna be. I don't really do this so much anymore, but when I was like really practicing, I'd be like, I'd watch all these videos of one drummer and be like, okay, now I'm gonna be kind of like that dude today, and I'm gonna try to do like all the things that he would do. And the next day I'd be like, oh, well, what about this guy? And then try to do all the things that he would do. And you're never gonna be able to do exactly what he does because it just, or what she does, or whatever. It just comes from their heart and stuff like that. But I think if you just kind of take a little bit from these people, take a little bit from that people, then you can kind of start to like develop your own vocabulary.
Who are some of your examples that you take from? Like,
I really like. Well, I grew up with Travis Barker.
Yeah, nice.
He's the guy.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, he was a massive influence on me. And at the same time, I was really into like Led Zeppelin, so like John Bonham and those kind of people.
Big boomy drum.
Yeah. So like that's like with Travis, you kind of learn the showmanship, and he like beats the drums
and his courageous amount of flair.
Yeah,
but in strategic places.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless it's neighborhoods where you could just tell they were like, hey man, just go nuts.
Yeah.
But like when you hear him on the earlier Blink records, Pants and Jacket and stuff like that. Like I feel like he obviously was honed by a producer, but
totally.
I love that he can do, you know what I mean? It's like, hey man, go wild. Okay. Or it's like, hey man, can you play it like this? Sure.
Yeah.
But like, I'm going to add a little
and just having that control to be able to do whatever.
Yeah. I think that in itself is a very extreme talent.
Yeah.
You can, it's like, you're controlling your daredevil, you know what I mean? In a way that's very, very precise.
Yeah.
So Travis Barker is there, and
Travis Barker,
Bonham.
Recently, this guy Chris Coleman, love him. I don't know who he's actually played with, but he's kind of one of those guys.
Yeah, okay.
I think he's one of those guys that is just amazing for. I don't know. I follow these guys on Instagram.
They flip around, right? They play with this guy, this girl, this musician, that musician. Yeah,
I've always been more like the working man's kind of drummer. Like I like to play. I like to play the song. I don't necessarily want to just go in like solo like crazy.
Oh, okay.
Although, sometimes you like to let loose.
No, that's how Mike, I've known you and watched your career, especially in the last couple of years in Blossom, and that's a reason why you're playing with these great artists. Because I've always said, like, my two favorite things about bands and about, artist projects and collectives, my favorite thing is singers and drummers.
Totally.
And I've always said you can't have like a great act without a great singer and great drummer.
Yeah.
But you also can't have a great act without a great singer and a drummer that can listen.
Yeah.
And a drummer that can understand. It's about, I think anyway, and this is, people argue it and that's fine, but I always think it's about the song. It's not about the drummer, it's about the song.
1,000%. Yeah.
And I think if you can get a drummer like yourself that understands that and lives in that world, the magic that can happen is just unbelievable.
Well, I kind of realized this like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago that like how much the vocals and the drums, like matter. Like as a singer's going to do whatever the singer wants to do. They wrote the song, they did whatever. In my kind of world, in like the artist kind of world, like the artist gig kind of world. So it's as important to lock in with the bass player as it is to stay out of the way of the vocalist or accentuate what they're saying. So like I love to do stuff where it's like if like the vocalist is going to be like, hit some kind of note or do some kind of hand motion or do some kind of thing, I love to mark it with like a little, a splash or like, a little floor tom thing or like just anything, just a little hi-hat kind of thing. And then that makes the artist look twice as good because now there's something else happening.
Brilliant.
Or like you hit a crash when they go, hey, You know, it's just something as simple as that.
Dude, I think that's what sets you and drummers like you aside from.
But I think that's like super important. And then
Absolutely.
you don't necessarily want that on the record, but come the live show, like fuck, that
Very cool. Actually,
comes alive.
thinking of it that way,
comes alive.
It comes alive on the live show.
Kiss alive.
Speaking of, you were just saying you feel like you're the sort of working class type drummer. I just want to talk a little bit about the past. You played in a few sort of punk rock type bands growing up. We actually played a show together, and I didn't realize go back probably.
He was in the headliner.
2007, 2008.
He was the headliner.
Going back probably 10 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Really, right? And he was a band at the time you were in called Teeter.
Teeter.
And we played together, and that type of life. Talk a little bit about that. Just
What, like the touring band?
Yeah, the touring band, like the touring, like playing the bars, the smoky bars, and stuff like that. In comparison to all this like massive stadium stuff.
Yeah. Well, like we used to, like I'm sure you're very familiar with. We had a van and trailer.
There you go.
But our trailer, we couldn't afford an actual trailer, so it was half of an Astro van. You know those like
I actually
little
remember
Astro
that.
vans?
I totally remember that.
It was hilarious. So we had that towing, like we had a 16 passenger towing that thing, and now it's like, okay, so somebody needs to be on the ownership, and I was like the youngest, but I was the only one that drove. So
Of course, you're the only one that drives.
I have this
There's only one person that never drove.
I have this $20,000 truck under my name, plus like a trailer and all this stuff, plus insurance, and then I would have to rely on them putting the money in my account. Like every month, which is not that easy with a bunch of starving musicians.
A bunch of 20-year-olds, 20-somethings going,
Yeah.
I think we got a couple $100 tonight. Like, okay.
Yeah. That, and then we had a rehearsal place, but that was up a flight of stairs.
Nice.
And in those days, if you wanted to be successful, you had to have everything, and you had to have the biggest stacks, the biggest everything, and everything in road cases.
Everything in road cases.
So now you're moving like an MPEG stack in a Clydesdale road case up a flight of stairs that takes five people to move.
This is all coming back to me.
And you're doing that at 5 a.m. because you just drove to Buffalo to make $150 between 5 people. And you spend it all in gas.
So we can agree I think I call that the hardening stages.
Yeah, I would say so.
It puts the hair on your chest.
Anything from that is just uphill.
So there has to be that sort of like aha moment for you. When was that? When did that moment happen? Was it the Katy Perry moment playing?
No, because I was
session?
still deep in that band when that happened. That was like we were in Baltimore for a month, and then it just happened that he was coming in and needed a drummer, and they were going to fly in the drummer from Boys Like Girls, because he was this like big session guy in LA or something. Right. And then the producer we were with was like, "No, we got this Canadian kid. Just give him $200 and he'll do it." I was like, yeah, but Katy Perry was nothing at the time. I listened to her on MySpace and learned the song off the MySpace.
Really?
Yeah.
So, whenabouts in your career did it hit that you started doing like the celebrity type gigs?
It was just sort of like I did the whole band thing, and then after that band ended, I was so just disheartened by the whole. Oh God! You have to wait around with something. Like band practice turns out to like more just them practicing, whereas I would be practicing before band practice, like every day off. And when I show up to band practice, you'd think that we were working on getting songs together, but it ends up being more of this thing where you're just band practice is the only time where they actually play their instruments.
Right.
So I found that really annoying because I'm like working so hard to like really work on my craft and stuff, and then you kind of show up and it's like, these people are fumbling around. No, I don't want to like single this. I don't want to single that band out.
No. It's just an aha moment.
Yeah,
you're focusing on your craft way more. You get I know I know how you feel, man.
So after that whole thing and the whole, I just felt like I couldn't rely on anybody, and if I was gonna do it, I had to do it by myself.
If you want to take it to the next level, you got to take it to the next fucking level.
Yeah,
and that's what you saw, right?
Yeah. So I
saw the silver lining.
Yeah. So I really just started, I would take out Craigslist ads and like, I would go to any audition, literally play with anybody for any amount of money, no matter what the gig was, even if I hated the music, if it was a bad situation, I did anything, which maybe is not a good idea, but like through doing that, I met all these other musicians, and I learned what to do on a gig and the things like you don't want to do. And yeah, like, well, I was trying to get into school too at the same time, and I was denied
School for percussion?
for music, yeah.
For music, yeah. Okay.
And I was denied 3 years in a row.
Wow.
So I was like
that
super
funny?
pissed off. I'm like,
Oh, yeah, now you're
I'm
gonna
like,
get it.
now I'm gonna do it by myself.
Now
I'm
you're gonna
like,
get it. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, now I literally have nobody to. So yeah, so I just took every gig, and then the gigs kind of got bigger, and the money got better. And then I you know, in the Canadian, all these like kind of up and coming pop kind of, I've always kind of steered towards pop because I feel like there's kind of a lot more money there. Although I played with a bunch of rock bands too.
It's also awesome.
Yeah.
I love pop music. Whatever, man. So what? So what? Big deal. I like pop music.
Well, I would play with these artists that like would have one big single, like a big Canadian single, whatever that is, you know, and then like they wouldn't be able to sell out any shows. Whereas my band, we could kind of like play Toronto and sell out like a 500 cap kind of place. And I'm playing with these pop artists that are all over the radio, but can't bring 20 people out to a gig.
Isn't that interesting, right?
Yeah.
That's so strange.
It's so weird because they have all
everything.
the, you know, but like people,
all the outlets in hand, but
you don't
yet they
necessarily
can't fill
want to go to a
500
club
room.
and hear a pop artist.
Right, okay,
You know,
yeah.
like you kind of want to go and, but then we would do these huge festivals with
Right.
like Snoop Dogg or like, you know, all these other people where it's kind of like a built-in, or like the artists are big enough that they can support this, and then people go and then hear that one song they know and they're like, oh, cool. So then we started doing like kind of bigger festivals, or I started doing with like all fucking every pop artist under the sun.
Yeah, your resume, man, it goes on and on and on. And you know what? I'm going to do the final segment now of the show. Sorry to cut into our story. I'm going to have you back on because you've got way more to talk about. So, and you know, we're drummers. We can talk about drums and paradiddles all
Drumsticks.
day. But anyway, I do a final segment. It's just called The Shit I'm Into. It's very simple for me today. I was just thinking about before you came over, we're talking about drummers. I've been listening to a lot of The Police lately, and you were talking about Sting and Stuart Copeland. I've always been a big fan. So the shit I'm into right now is just putting on some old Sting, maybe on vinyl if I feel like busting out the record player. Listen to a little those Copeland vibes, Copeland grooves. Love that stuff. But anyway, what's the shit you're into right now, Mike?
Does it have to be music related?
No, it can be anything you want. Literally anything you want. It could be the laminate floor on the ground.
I mean, as lovely as this laminate floor is, this is super lame, but I'm obsessed with sleep.
Nice.
I watched this podcast, or sorry, I listened to this podcast. I keep on saying this.
Well, some podcasts you can watch, like mine. You can watch and listen. So hey,
multiple mediums.
yeah, hey.
Yeah, it's with this guy called Matthew Walker.
Okay.
Have you heard of this whole thing?
No.
It talks about all this like sleep and the benefits of sleep. And I always thought, I was always kind of like, oh, I got 5 hours, like whatever, there's no time, I have to get back to work. But you're like seriously doing something bad to your body.
Yeah, bad.
You need like 8 to 9 hours sleep.
Right, yeah. They're saying 7 minimum, right? Like 8, 9 if you can. Yeah.
And I find that very interesting.
Dude, that's awesome. So the shit Mike Sleath is into, other than drums, is sleep. Which, dude, it must be. How do you find that on tour? Tough, or do you?
Yeah, it's impossible.
Maybe that's why you're into it.
But he talks about different like if you're in an unsettling kind of like space, like a hotel room somewhere you're not like half of your brain. Only half of your brain goes to sleep, and the other half is
this
awake.
guy was on Joe Rogan recently.
That's
wasn't he?
the one.
Yes. Okay. I had listened to half of it, and
Dude,
I loved it. Yes,
I love that guy.
Yep. Sorry.
I think it's
you're right. Half asleep. Yeah, when you're in a place you're not used to. That's right. Because it's like an alarm system, right?
Yeah.
It's like an old caveman type. Like you're prepping your system for anything could happen.
Yeah.
Your mind can't fully relax.
Or he talks about like visualization as well too, and I'm a big visualizer.
Amazing. Well, Mike, please plug any socials you got right now for yourself.
It's just Mike Sleath drums across the board.
Dude, it's so smart.
Twitter.
Cross-branding. This guy knows what's up.
Cross-branding, bro.
Awesome. Mike Sleath, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with the rest of the Shawn Mendes dates, and man, just keep banging away, dude.
Awesome.
You're awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers, man.